On your back. Camera guy, you ready?
Yeah.
You ready to? All right, guys, we're going to talk about heel hooks today. Heel hooks, there's nothing to be afraid of. You don't have to worry about foot locks. You just have to be aware of the limitations of your body, right? So, the basic heel hook, Pete, come on this side, actually. So, this is just a regular heel hook, okay? There's an inverted heel hook and just a regular heel hook. Regular heel hook is when you're turning their foot from the outside in. Like I'm trying to turn his heel, so it's like almost like a toe hold position. Okay. Now we're going to talk about heel hooks under the assumption that we're reaping too. You always want to reap the leg when you do a heel hook. Reaping over the top helps control his hip. If my foot's not there, he's going to be able to spin out of it really easily because he can just turn his hip all the way out and spin out. And I won't be able to have good control. So I want to reap the leg. Ideally, I want to reap all the way under his far leg and interlace his leg. This now if he rolls, I'm going to roll with him. Like if we both roll, go ahead. He tries to spin out. I'm going to spin with him, and I'll always be able to maintain the pressure, even if we're rolling through like across the mat, because my body's locked onto his. Okay, go back. So you can finish it like this, but ideally we want to be under his legs. You don't have a figure four, you can just put both feet like hooked up behind his thigh, okay? Now as far as finishing the heel hook, it's very important we don't try and hook it with our elbow. I don't want it at the elbow joint. Because the reason I don't do that is because my forearm muscle is meaty and it's like it can rotate around my forearm bone, right? So I want to use my wrist because there's no give. So I can actually create a ledge on which to set his heel. And then when I turn, I'm not going to slide over because of my own muscle on my arm. So I grip here with my wrist. I take a gable grip, pinch my elbows down tight, and hug it to my chest. Okay? I also want to trap his foot with my armpit. Okay? So I have his foot trapped with my bicep into my armpit. I have my wrist on his heel. And now from here, I don't want to just turn like this. I actually want to lay flat first. Laying flat torques his foot downwards. Okay, his foot's already being bent. Okay, and then from here I turn across. Just tap this all over. Okay, you don't have to let it break. So gripping, I lay flat. I don't want to sit up and go like this because then his foot's just bending in. I'm losing pressure. So I lay back and turn. Okay, as far as setting it up, go ahead and stand up for me, Gustavo. So a very common way to set it up is from the single leg X. I can be here, hold myself in a single leg X, like this. I like to just push his leg away and just reap super hard and figure four and then hook the far leg, tilt it backwards and then shoot my foot through and then lay back and finish the heel hook. Okay, if you're on top and we want to set up the heel hook, it's the same thing. I'm just going to like pull him into like almost like leg dragging, but just incorrectly. And I just sit back. I want to control his hips before I attack the foot. I want to lock up the position before I reach for the foot. Because if I reach for the foot before I lock up the position, he's just going to spin out of it. I'm going to have to start all over. Okay? So this is the regular heel hook. From here, reap, hook the leg, insert my other hook, sit back, pinch with the armpit, lay flat. Okay? What that's doing is it's just twisting his femur and hips are staying in the same spot, and we're just twisting his knee. Heel hooks tear the ACL, like the internal of the knee. So you have to just be aware of it. It doesn't hurt until the tear happens, so you need to be aware that once your foot starts to stop moving on its own, that's when there's being pressure put on your ACL. Okay? It's better to tap before you feel any pain, because once you feel the pain, it's probably going to be too late. Okay? So in training, you don't just want to rip your opponent's foot off, all right? You got to go slow with these. If you have the position locked tight enough, he's not going to be able to get out of it anyways. If he can't get out and he's not tapping, just let go. Like, you don't need to. If you really want to make sure that you have the technique right and the guy's not tapping in training, just take your hand off and then just pretend like to finish it, so you have the proper drilling mindset. Because in competition, you don't want to be here and then look at the guy and he's not tapping, and then you just like have never finished a heel hook before. And you just won't finish it, and he'll wriggle out of it. So you just make sure you have the proper turning technique, okay? And guys, just tap. If you get caught in the heel hook, like, you always need to tap, especially in competition, because the guy's not going to be worried about hurting your foot. Okay, guys, any questions on that?
No, sir.
Thanks, Gabriel. All right, on three. 1, 2, 3. Choke from the knee cut. So go ahead and walk back, please. On your guard. There you go. Perfect. Okay, guys, so we're going to enter into our knee cut position here. All right? I'm going to be trying to knee cut with an underhook. Usually, if I get the underhook and I'm able to cut my knee through, I'll be able to pass very easily, right? But he's going to be aware that I'm trying to get that underhook. If he fishes for his own underhook, I need to take a point of control, which is going to be my whizzer, okay? And I'm going to be looking for the Darce choke from here. So instead of coming here, he swims his hand in, gets his own underhook. I'm going to switch from passing the guard and focus more on the Darce choke, okay? So I usually do this in a single movement, okay? So when I like to knee cut, I like to do a blast knee cut. So I'll step and I'll drive through. As he reaches for the underhook, I'm going to be shooting my hand as deep through as I can and grabbing the back of his neck just to control him for a moment, okay? So I shoot through immediately, and I'm going to grab my hands together. I'm going to continue the knee cut from here, pull my leg out, and now I'm not really worried about getting the points here because he needs to be flat on his back to get the points. So I'm just going to be working on cinching up the Darce from here. First things first, I'm going to do the karate chop motion, like this. That's going to help me get my arm a little deeper through. So I have this grip, I karate chop. That's going to give me a little more room with my hand here to bring my arm around and lock up the figure 4, okay? If you're still not able to reach it, for whatever reason, say you're only able to lock on your forearm, we just crank his head down. We use our grip to crank his head and really get that tight, okay? And I want to make sure my chest is over his shoulder. Straight down, putting a lot of weight on him, crushing his own deltoid into his neck, okay? Once I get this grip, I want to make sure that I don't have my fingers in the crook of my bicep. I want my whole hand through and wrapping around. See how my hand is here, not here? Very important. That does two things. The first is it makes a more secure lock with my figure 4 here, but it also makes this arm push his head inwards and down, which crunches his head and makes it easier to choke him, okay? Now from here, there's a couple ways to finish it. The first thing we're going to do is just put our hand on the flat of his back and drive him forward and squeeze, okay? That's one of the most simple finishes. There's 3 finishes though. So I can be here, drive him forward and squeeze. Something I like to do is actually drop to my hip here and throw my leg over the top and squeeze here as well, okay? And then we always have the option just to roll this way through. Okay, we can finish the darts from the bottom by walking my legs up and catching over his leg and squeezing. Type of Darce finish, okay? So you kind of have to play around with which one you like the best. I like to roll backwards mostly. So again, the motion here, it's like I'm going for a knee cut, but I'm just going to anticipate that he's going to go for the underhook, and I shoot it through as I'm knee cutting. Grabbing his head, getting my Darce locked up tight, okay? The reason I like to go for the seated back one is because a lot of times they come up to their knees. He comes up to his knees, and I'm just going to fall back with him. I'm locking my hips close to him here, squeezing tight, shrugging my shoulders, catching a leg or all the way over his body, whatever you can get, and then just a tight squeeze to finish the Darce. Okay, any questions?
And then even though you're on bottom on that last finish, you still feel that you get the same leverage as the other?
It's actually more leverage for sure. It's the same concept as an anatomic choke. Finishing it, you're walking forward and you're really curling their body in, crunching their head like this.
Okay.
Whereas when the top, you're just putting a lot of pressure downwards, but this gives a lot of like upward pressure on the front of his throat. Okay.
And then actually, like when you hook his leg, like pulling him towards you, does that?
Yes.
Okay.
You want to pull him towards you as much as you can and really secure his leg. Okay. You don't just put your leg over; you need to squeeze it tight, force him into like a shrimp position. Yes.
So could you show the last option again? Not the anaconda, not the first one, but the other one where you're going go around his back,
Okay.
like a clock choke.
Yeah. So the 3 options are here: gripping, driving forward. The second one was dropping back into this. Is that what you're talking about?
Oh, that's what you were showing. Okay.
That was the one I just showed, and then the only other one, go back. The only other one is just to be from right here and throw a leg over. to like a mount position. Okay. And they all follow the same thing. Once you throw your leg over, you just squeeze in really tight. Okay? Let's do it on 3. 1, 2, 3. Moves us away and gets up to his elbow, okay? It looks like this. I go to try and throw by. Anytime you get the leg past, I'm here and he gets up to his elbow and drives away and I lose all my pressure and he starts to turn into me again and I lose my pass, okay? So, because you can count on this a lot, if you don't do it exactly right and you don't land your shoulder directly on his shoulder, if I land my shoulder directly on his shoulder here and I land it like this, he's not going to be able to get up to his elbow. Try and get up to your elbow. Because I have my weight on it, okay? And then by the time I get this and I'm here, I can force it back flat to the mat. But it's not always going to be perfect. You're not always going to be able to land it just right. So, when you throw the leg by and he goes and he gets up to his elbow here, the second he starts to get up to his elbow, now he has this tight grip here. He's probably not going to let go of this. Roll back down to your elbow a little more. Here, here, here. Okay, we're in this position. This is the moment of truth right here. I'm going to let go of his pants. Actually, no. Hang on to his pants for now. I'm going to bring my elbow over the top of his arm. Okay? Right now it's on his leg, on this side of his body. I need to bring it in front of his body, and I walk my hips this way, around, like to a north-south position. Now, I can let go of his pants, and I'm going to pull his hand into a Kimura. See how his fingers are trapped here? This is the legal wrist lock, because it's 4 fingers. From here, I just pull it in tight, or I can finish the Kimura. Okay? So whenever someone does this to you, you're gonna do like the wet blanket technique. You bring your elbow over in front and you're gonna flop bottom like a wet blanket. Here, throw by, flop wet blanket style, get my Kimura grip. He's not going anywhere because his fingers are trapped. You can't really get your fingers out of this. I can't even do a real Kimura really because of the pressure here, so I just drive it in. Okay, this is very effective. It's like crazy effective actually. Like anytime someone does this to you, if you can get your elbow over and you get the Kimura grip here, like his fingers are gonna get hurt. It's actually his wrist. His fingers will be fine. It's bending his wrist backwards, okay? Here, throw by. When I feel him sit up in this moment where he's like, we're scrambling, I'm just gonna take a big step, flop my armpit over his arm, hook the Kimura grip, and then squeeze everything in tight. If he's just a really tough guy who's got flexible arms, you can go back for the Kimura finish here. Okay? Any questions? Let's do it. 1, 2, 3. Focus, clap. Alright guys, we're going to cover a choke called the Flavio Canto choke. This is a choke made popular by Flavio Canto. He's a judoka from Brazil, and he hits everyone with this choke in judo matches. So it's a lapel choke from the bottom like half guard knee shield position. Okay, so I'm in a half guard knee shield here. Now, whenever you're doing knee shield and you have your frame here like this, what you can do to have this option of choke is I grip the collar and I'm going to rest my knee on top of my wrist. Okay, and this is going to stop him from being able to drive my knee down and put pressure on me like this. Whereas if I just play regular knee shield and I'm here, he may be able to do the leg weave pass and drop my knee to my chest or pin my knees together. It can make it very difficult for me to recover my guard. So if I grip this collar and I rest my knee on top of it, he's not going to be able to push my knee down, and I have the option of a choke here as well as some armbar attacks. Okay, so I have my grip. I'm going to keep it about like 3 inches from his neck. I want it a little bit loose. I don't want it directly in the collar, like up deep like I'm doing a cross choke or anything. A little bit, give it a little bit of slack, and I'm going to underhook this arm, like I'm trying to do a straight arm lock from here. Okay, I want to underhook the arm. As I underhook the arm, I'm going to swing my leg all the way around and go up onto my shoulder and lock my leg over his back. Once I lock my leg over his back, I'm going to straighten it out and try and push his head down on top of my grip on his collar. I have the grip on his collar, and I'm just trying to drive his head down over the top of my grip here. Okay? Now, when I put this weight down on his back, usually he's going to base with this arm. Okay? Because I'm going to try and chop it down. I'm chopping an axe downwards. He's going to base, and I'm going to underhook his leg and weave it through with my leg. From here, I continue turning to my left side. to bring my other leg over the top and squeeze. And then I'm going to pull back like I'm starting a lawnmower, okay? I'm pulling towards myself this way. All right? Scoot back a little. So here I have my grip. I'm going to underhook. I'm going to swing my leg out and up. See how I go up onto my shoulders? I'm going to chop my leg down. I want to try and keep this knee out because if I let this knee go too far down, he may try and pass straight to side control and I can lose some of the pressure. I can still finish if I go to the reverse triangle. We can still finish the choke. But ideally, we want to keep our lock on his, like the half guard lock, and my knee on this side so I can escape my hips. Okay? Here, escape the leg up. When he bases, I want to hook. Now, he's going to start trying to pull his arm out, his right arm, from my leg, right? Now, sometimes this happens. That's totally okay. We can just straighten our leg and continue turning, all right? And if he's going to feel me start to sweep him over, sometimes he'll plant his foot, his right foot. He'll put his foot on the mat. If that happens, I'm going to underhook the leg as well, okay? This makes it just super tight. I can still finish the same choke. Here, it's very powerful. One more time. Another variation, if you're having trouble reaching the arm, let's scoot back a little. Ankle. If you're having trouble reaching the arm, we can also reach under the leg. Okay, and then it gives us just as good a leverage. Swing my leg out, up over the top. Here, underhook the arm, and extend. For the Flavio Canto choke. It's very strong. Now you see Flavio Canto pulling this off from the guard pull. He actually likes to go here, and he sits down like he's trying to do like a butterfly sweep. And when they base off the butterfly sweep, he throws his leg around, hooks their leg or their arm, whatever he can hook to finish. If the guy's not choking, you still have this arm. You can let go and set up omoplatas. If you manage to hook the arm here, and you lose a choke or he's not choking, you just pull the arm to you and finish this arm bar here. Or the double arm bar. Call this the wings of victory. It's the wings of victory arm bar, okay? That's the last resort though. Usually the choke works. So that's the Flavio Canto choke. Now you can also finish it from the top, which is actually very effective, and you don't really see this from Flavio Canto. This is something I sort of started doing myself. When you're here in side control and our opponent turns into us as they try and escape, I have the same collar grip here. And I want to make sure my head is on the inside of his arm with an underhook. And I'm going to step my knee over the top. Okay? Now that my knee's over the top, I'm going to turn and put my forehead on the mat. And putting my forehead on the mat, I also turn my leg and I can hook over his arm and finish the same choke here. Okay? If it's not choking him, I can roll all the way through to get the same leverage of the original choke, but usually you can finish it from the top. Go on your back one time. So if he's not coming up on his side, but we still want to set up the choke, I just give the underhook and I can pull him into me. Okay, from here I can step over, wrap my foot around his head, hook the arm, fall back, or just extend right here and finish the choke. It's a super tight choke. You just have to focus on making sure your hamstring is tight on the back of his neck and doesn't slip off the back of his head. You don't want to keep your knee up, because the more you keep your knee up, the more comfortable he is. And he's locked in he has as much control over me as I have over him. So whenever we step into the reverse delegated position to start passing, I want to make sure that my knee drives down to the mat. I'm trying to drive through. Because what that does is it makes it much harder for him to keep the delegated hook on my thigh here. But when my knee is up, my butt drops down and it locks it in so it can't slide down. But if I point my knee down, the foot can slide right off. So it's much harder for him to maintain the position. So whenever you're in the reverse delegated, when you're trying to pass, you want to be trying to tilt your knee down so my foot is off the mat, trying to put pressure. And that's what's going to allow us to slide our knee out and free ourselves from the actual reverse delegated hook. Okay? So when you're passing the Bravo choke here, like this, and you actually get this grip here, if you're trying to finish the choke itself, it's actually better not to pass, okay? but it's a very strong passing movement. But if you're trying to actually finish the choke, I don't want to actually pass here, because then he's going to be able to turn into me really hard. If he turns up to his knees, it can be a lot harder to finish the choke. So when I'm here, I have my knee on the mat. If you actually want to finish the choke itself, you want to keep your foot glued to the mat so that he can't turn into you, because now his bottom leg is trapped. So the more he tries to turn into me, my foot is stopping him here. Everyone see that? For my toes, my foot forms a hook on his leg, stopping him from being able to turn and escape. Then he's at my mercy. If I want to pass the guard, I can. If I want to try and finish the choke, I can as well. Okay? But it's a very effective guard pass if you're not confident with your Bravo choke, so you just use it as a control grip. But now we're just going to do the same pass, but this time, instead of passing it to our right hand, let's say we can't reach it. He's defending my hand. Every time I try and reach, he's grabbing and defending it. So now, instead, we're going to treat it more like we're trying to catch shoulder pressure. Okay? But instead of actually catching our hands together in the Bravo, we're just going to reach higher up the gi with our left hand. Here, so we can put shoulder pressure down. So when I pass the grip, I want to reach deep and grip it like this, putting shoulder here. So my knee is still cutting across, but I'm driving pressure with my left shoulder. So my body's kind of torqued this way from here. Okay? So I put shoulder pressure, so this is counter-rotating his body, so his hips are facing this direction, and now I'm torquing his face that direction. So it's very hard for him to generate any power if he's trying to shrimp or bridge or do anything. Okay? So I'm going to pass with the same way. I'm going to knee cut and turn my hip out. But now from the side control position here, I'm going to bring my hand, I'm going to pass it low on his lapel. Okay? And then this hand is going to come over the top and grip like a baseball bat. Okay? So we pass the grip, I'm in side control, my right hand is underhooked. I'm going to bring my hand in, I'm going to open this up so there's a space for my right hand. Anyone who's on this side, if you can't see, come over here. So I have the tight grip, I'm just going to open it up so I can put my hand in palm up. Like this. Okay, it's kind of a different baseball bat choke because we're just using the lapel. Now from here, my head is going to go from his shoulder all the way to his opposite hip as I walk my legs around his body. I want to plant my head on this side. Okay? If I leave my head here, he's going to be able to follow me with his hips as I turn and not going to be able to put the pressure. So before I even start squeezing, I want to drive my head to this side. Here, and now I can squeeze. And he's not going to be able to follow me with his body anymore. Okay? So a normal baseball bat choke is usually in the collar. You grip the collar like this, turn. But this one's actually a lot tighter. Grip here in the collar and the lapel itself. Okay? Turning, driving my head. My arms are extended here. I'm not squeezing in. Because if I squeeze in here, I release pressure off his body. I want to actually have my arms extended straight. And then I flare my elbows out to finish the choke. Okay. So over here we have the passing option with the Bravo choke, which is great if you like that. But now we're doing the passing option where we get the underhook, turn my knee out, open the lapel, bring my hand on the inside, and grip. My knees, walk my head to the opposite side. Any questions? Let's do it. 1, 2, 3. Silent battle that goes on here because you're in danger too. The other one, you're not really in danger of a heel hook, and this one, you're also in danger of a heel hook, so you need to be aware of how to defend it. Turn this back. Come on this side, guys. Let's see. So, basically, I want to figure four my legs, okay, when we're in this position, and he wants to figure four his legs. That's just stopping him from immediately being able to attack the heel hook. If I leave my foot here, he's going to be able to reach over and start to attack the heel hook, okay? This one's really bad. It's like really hard to, like you can't hold out on this one at all. The other one you can spin out of kind of, and a lot of people have more flexibility that way, but this one there's not a whole lot, no one has flexible feet this way, except Jeff Glover. Jeff Glover has really flexible feet like that. So, but the battle is not letting him heel hook me while I try and heel hook him, okay? So a couple things we do to do that, I need to unhook his triangle. So I'm just gonna underhook, his leg and lift it up onto my shoulder. And then I'm able to reach back and get the heel hook. So turn. So whoever has their knee on the inside is the person who's going to be able to threaten the heel hook more. Because if my feet are like this, it's not in his armpit, it's a lot harder for him to reach the heel hook. Okay, so I always want to have the turning inside control here. And that allows me to attack knee bars as well as toe holds. Okay, so I'm trying to turn my knees inside while still triangling my legs. If he triangles his legs from here, go ahead, triangle your legs. I can attack toe holds here, all because I'm faced inwards. A big mistake people make is because they're just like this, and they're just trying to go from here. But then they can get heel hooked too. So if I'm turning in and I'm controlling the inside portion of his legs here, I have more attacks than he does, okay? So I have the advantage. The heel hook is the same concept. I pinch in my armpit, grab my hands together, gable grip, and set his heel on my wrist, and then fall backwards, same thing, and twist it, okay? Now, a few things to unlock the grip. Go ahead and figure four your legs. The first one is I dig my elbow into this hole here. I dig my elbow in, okay? Now it's just gonna slide right into the proper position. Like, if he's here, go ahead and lift your leg up, just like imaginary. When I slide it in, it just slides directly into the crook of my elbow here, okay? When it's triangle, and I dig like this, I immediately get the catch here. And he's gonna be reaching, trying to pin. With this one, you don't ever wanna try and spin out of it. If he starts to attack the heel hook on me, you just can't panic, but you have to control one of his arms immediately. Like immediately start grabbing his arms and controlling. If he just has one arm, it's gonna be a lot easier to defend. Like I can just push it off or I can extend my leg through. But you don't wanna try and spin or pull out of it because you're stuck. That's when you're gonna get heel hooked. What? No, that's really bad if you come on top. Because watch what happens when he comes on top. Try and get up. Like try and come to your knees. Stand up. It's right here. Like as he comes up, because he's not triangling his legs, I'm really going to be able to torque his knee that way, and then I actually put my foot on top of it, on top of the leg, to get a ton of pressure. So it's really bad to come up on top. Okay? So again, triangle your legs. Another thing you can do is like grab and grab, like just to fight with his feet. Like try and underhook it and just pull it out. You have a surprising amount of strength here because his legs aren't very don't have good dexterity. So you can really fight with his legs here and get good pressure. If he's here, you can try and heel hook over as well. It's not as effective, but you can go for it. We can also attack reverse toe holds here, like this one. This one really sucks too. This one it'll hurt his foot more than his knee. I finished the guy at when I went to Wisconsin last weekend for a submission only fight. I got this heel hook, and you just hear the foot crack because it opens it up that way. You feel the pressure?
Yeah.
So guys, when we're here, we want a hand fight. If he's attacking our feet here, go ahead, try and attack my feet for the heel hook. I'm trying to control my own toes while I hand fight. Okay, if my toes are connected, if my hand and my toes are connected, it's impossible for my toes to get trapped underneath his armpit because my hand's there. Okay, so if you're getting a heel hook, so grab your toes. Just grab your toes, the top of your foot. Yeah, if he goes like this, it's really hard for me to I have to come on the inside, but I can't come over the top because his hand's there. So that's one good defense to remember. If someone's attacking your foot, grab your toes, and then the other hand is going to hand fight. So watch, if go ahead and try and attack the heel hook on me, Gustavo. Go ahead, try and attack. Go for it. So I'm trying to control right here. And then if this hand comes in, if for any reason we're to connect it, I'm controlling here. I have to be careful because he can still start to roll to his left, but if I just put my hand here, go ahead and roll to your left to finish the heel hook, it's going to relieve the pressure, okay? So we're hand fighting, making sure that our toes don't go under his armpit. This is bad news. This is like worst case scenario. Ideally, we want to keep our toes out the whole time. If he does start to try and get here, we want to try and shove it through and turn our foot this way, because now he's not able to reach my heel. We're still in danger of other things like knee bars and things like that, but as long as our toes don't go into his armpit, we should be pretty safe. But once you're here with toes in the armpit, it's not over yet. It's surprisingly hard to finish a heel hook when you're defending the person's hands, like gripping at their hands. It just takes them a really long time to actually set up the position, okay? But finishing it is the same. We just want inside control, hook over the heel, and then roll back in the same exact way. If you're really nasty with it, you can throw this leg in front here attack the same way. And then it turns into like a knee bar type thing as well. And then you can switch to knee bars. So if you throw the other foot in. Okay, so that just covers like a lot of the different positions in there. Just trying to work the heel hook. Guy get in heel hook, try and grab their hands and kind of play with that defense just to get used to it. And just so you're comfortable in those positions. All right, any questions? All right. What do you say? Oh, why'd you point? Okay, on three. 1, 2, 3. Whenever we're playing on bottom, we should be trying to aim for the closed guard. It's the dominant position from the bottom. Because if we have our guard open, he can pass our guard, go double under, do all sorts of different things where he's attacking us, right? And if we lock our guard closed, it means that he can't really do anything to us until he opens his guard. So it's an extra layer of defense, okay? So he cannot pass my guard or submit me or do anything to me really, as long as I'm aware, unless he opens up my legs first. And he usually tries to open up the legs by trying to get his posture and, you know, control the gi, put his knee in, and try and create pressure to open my legs, okay? So whenever I'm playing closed guard, I need to make sure that my hands are on the inside, okay? I want to have my hands on the inside because that allows me to pull him forward and force his hands to the mat, okay? If I have his hands on the mat, that means that they're not on me. And if they're not on me, they're not doing anything and they're no danger to us, okay? So whenever someone's starting to try and get grips to set up his base and his posture to start opening the guard, I need to make sure I have inside control, okay? If he has a really strong grip on my collar here and I'm not able to just open it up like this, you need to break the grips. Once you break the grips, you want to maintain your inside control, having my hands on the inside, creating this box area that is my box. I don't let him into my box. If he tries to get in my box, I block him, both sides, always, okay? As I'm doing that, I want to make sure that I'm pulling forward with my knees, trying to break his posture always. If he starts to try and sit up and stand up or something, I pull him forward, taking his base off. Once I have my hand on the inside, I want to try and get a collar grip to control. You don't necessarily want both collar grips because then your hands are just doing nothing. They're just here. So I'm going to get one collar grip to maintain his broken posture after I break it using my knees. Now I have the collar grip and my left hand is still weaving on the inside, trying to maintain inside control. Once I get inside control and I force his hand to the mat, when I break his posture, this free hand here is going to go to an overhook. This is an overhook position where I come over the top of his arm and underneath his armpit. Once I have this position, I'm in a really good place because now he cannot do anything until he frees this grip. He needs to get his arm out of here. So now we have two layers of defense. His arm, my arm over his arm, and then my closed guard. So now he's in a really bad spot. So he needs to free his arm. Go ahead, free your arm. And then he needs to get inside control. And then he needs to try and open my guard. So he has to get through all those barriers before he can escape this position. That's why closed guard is really powerful if you use it right. So I have my hands on the inside, I grip the collar, I pull my legs forward, and I'm going to get an overhook. Once I get an overhook, I can just keep my hand here, but if we really want to lock him down, I reach my hand on the inside of his collar here. The cross collar grip. This makes it really tight and makes it very difficult for him to posture up and pull his arm out. Okay? Yeah, see, so now I'm breaking his posture. This hand was breaking his posture, but now I switch it so that everything is being done just with my left hand. I have his posture broken, I'm controlling his arm with my overhook, and now this hand is free to do whatever I want. So I'm controlling his position fully. So we want to try and get to these positions. Okay? Now, he's forced to have to start to use this hand. This hand has to come into play. He's going to have to base it on me or push on my chest or do something to try and maintain, like regain his posture. Because if he doesn't have posture, he has nothing. Okay? So when that happens, we know that this is the only thing he has left to do. We know he's going to move this arm. So now our free hand is going to go to the wrist. Once we have the wrist here, I'm going to control it, and I'm going to push it to his chest. I'm trying to pin it against his chest here. Okay? So far, all we've done is gone inside control, pulled our knees forward, overhooked, and grabbed the collar. That's what we're looking for. Now when he puts his hand on our chest or on our arm, we're going to reach to the wrist and push it against his chest here. From here, now I'm going to open my legs. Okay? It's safe to open my legs now because his posture is broken and I'm going to have this overhook. So even if I open my legs, he's not just going to be able to escape my guard. He has to regain his posture by breaking my grip on his collar first. So from here, as he tries to regain his posture, when he sits up, it's going to create space for my legs to open and lock around his head. We're going to set up a triangle choke. Okay? So here, push the wrist in, throw our legs up and over his arm. It's okay if his hand is on the inside for now. I'm going to be here, up and over, and I cross my legs. Crossing my ankles and squeezing my knees tight. Okay, once we get in this position, we're just going to stay here for now. This is going to be the first part. We're just going to go through that part of the technique, then we'll go through the second half of finishing the choke, okay? So, break the posture, force his hands to the mat, grab the collar. I need to escape my hips a little bit if you're having problems getting deep with the overhook. So we can just turn our hips and do a little bit of a shrimp. Then I overhook, grab the collar. Now once I grab the collar and he goes to post on me, I grab his wrist and force it in. Now he's not just going to stay here usually, so when he starts to try and regain his posture, I open my legs and lock. Now from here, I just want to make sure that my ankles are crossed, but it is better to have the one nearest to his neck underneath, because that's the side we're going to lock the triangle on. Now, once I'm here, I don't want to start locking up the triangle yet. I'm going to extend my hips up and away. This is going to create my body into a straight line, so it's easy for me to pull his arm across, which is very important. Okay? If I leave his arm here, it's going to be hard for me to finish the choke. If I start to pull down on the head, I need to lift up and then pull the arm across. That way, if he tries to hug my body here, I'm not going to be able to pull it like this, but if I sit up, I can underhook his arm and pull it across. So you have to get the arm across his neck, no matter the cost. It's very important. So at this point, our legs are still just in a diamond here. But once I cross his arm here, it's going to create like a smaller zone for me to lock my legs up and over, okay? So now I'm going to grab the back of his head, and I'm going to open the diamond. And I'm going to put my left foot in his hip, okay? The left foot is in his hip, and this leg is going to lock down as I turn my body. Pinch it down really tight. Once I pinch it down, I'm going to grab my ankle and hold it in. So now if he tries to pull his head out, he's not going to be able to go anywhere because I've created this cinch down around his head and his arm. And my body here is blocking it from being able to pull his arm back across. So now my thigh here, my hamstring, is choking on this side of the neck, and his bicep is pushing into the other side of his neck. So both sides are being pushed like this to create the choke. Okay? Now here, this is where people start to run into problems because they may not be able to lock their legs up all the way. And you might find that your toes get locked underneath your calf like this. You need to try and avoid that because you don't want to try and finish triangle chokes with your toes locked under your calf. So when that happens, we need to make sure we do everything we can to get the angle right. So when I put my foot on his hip and I pinch down, I want to make sure I turn my body from parallel. My spine is parallel to him here. I go perpendicular, almost 90 degrees, as far as you can go, all the while holding onto our shin. Okay? Then from here, I point my toes up. Okay? If I point my toes down and I try and lock over my foot, it's just going to go over my own foot and it can hurt your foot and it's just going to slide off. So you point your toes up, and I throw my leg over my pointed toes. You see now my foot locks my leg in there. Okay? Now it's tight. If you're still having problems, you need to force it high up over his head so his shoulder is out of the equation. So I lock it over his shoulder, it's just his head and his arm in here. You can make the mistake of trying to lock it over his shoulder and you may not be able to get it if your legs aren't long enough. That's why it's really important to grab your shin, shrimp and turn perpendicular, lock it down over his head and open my leg so now it's just his head and his arm. Then from here, make sure his arm is still across. The more we continue turning, the tighter it's going to be. You can underhook his arm to do that, or you can underhook his leg if his leg is up. But then from here, we're just going to grab the back of his head and pull down as we pinch our knees together. Our knees pinch together like I'm trying to open my legs like this, but they stay locked, and I pinch, I grab the head, and I pull down. So I've created like a V shape with his arm and my thigh, and I'm pulling his neck down into the V shape. That's what makes it tight. Okay? Again. Breaks the posture. Grab the collar so he can't pull back up right away. Scoot my hips. Get the overhook. Pass the grip. And from here, if he doesn't put his hand on our chest, we just grab his wrist and push it away. And bring our toes through. Okay? Just like this. It's just another option. If you're having trouble like that, you're just going to grab the wrist and force it in anyways. But you do have the other option. If he tries to hide his hand away, you can put your foot through. Always toes first, because I can't bring anything else through first. I have to point my toes through first and then get to my diamond here. Once I have the diamond, I squeeze my knees together. We call it a diamond because look, here it makes a diamond with our legs, okay? So we're trying to get to that first. Get to our diamond position. Arch my hips up, make my back straight. Grab the wrist and pull the arm across. Control the head, foot goes on the hip. Grab our shin and turn it and lock it down behind his head. And then turn my body. You can underhook the arm if we need to turn even more. Point your toes. Lock the triangle up. And then pull down on the head. If for any reason it's still not tight, you want to make sure that these toes are pointed up as well. Okay? Both our toes are pointed up. Because if my toes are pointed up, it's going to flex my calf. If I point my toes down, my calf's going to be soft. It's not going to push into his head as hard. So if I point my toes up with both sides, both my calves flex, and it tightens the lock around his neck and his arm, okay? Then pull down the head. Okay, any questions? So when you do the full motion, it'll look like this. Okay, and the other option is to be here. If he hides his hand far away, you go here or here, and I bring my toes through. If my toes come through, my whole leg comes over, and we lock the diamond. Okay, any questions? Okay, while we're on the subject of unconventional shoulder locks, now we're going to go into something called a reverse omoplata, which is a really effective move, and it's kind of underutilized in jiu-jitsu, I think. But if you have the ability to do it, you should definitely add this to your repertoire. Okay, so we're going to be in a turtle position. I'm going to get my seatbelt grip. Okay, now if you like the crucifix, this will play into your game perfectly. So I'm here, I'm hugging the seatbelt grip here, and his hand a lot of times will post on the mat. Even if it's just his elbow on the mat, it's fine. My goal here is just to step over his hand. Okay, now there's going to be a tricky switch here. Okay, my left leg, see where my left leg is? Just extended. I'm going to drag his arm back like I'm going for a crucifix, but I extend my leg and drop it in behind my left ankle. Okay, that's very important. So go back again. Let me show that again. So here, I grab and I pull it behind. So I'm opening my ankle outwards like this to drop it behind my left leg. Then I'm going to sit on it and pinch it hard between my hamstring and my calf here. Now, I'm going to control the elbow, making sure this is staying in this position, and I'm going to turn and put my elbow on the inside of his head. From here, I'm going to do a forward roll over my left shoulder. Now, right from here, he's actually pretty stuck. He's not going to be able to turn into me, and he can't roll through. If he does roll through, I'm going to roll through as well. So I'm going to turn, and I'm going to roll through. And even if he doesn't roll here, you'll see that his hand gets caught right behind my knee, almost like he's Kimuraing himself. So it looks just like an omoplata from here, but this is a reverse omoplata. Then from here, he has to roll forward to release the pressure on his shoulder, and I'm going to sit up with him. Then from here, I'm just going to control the leg, and I control under the armpit again, very similarly to the scorpion deathlock we just did. And I just lift my hips off the ground, my butt comes into the air, and then this back leg moves down and through the space I created. So I'm turning into him to create the shoulder lock. Okay? One more time. So this is a really good setup for it, but my favorite is from the crucifix, which I'm going to show next. So here, I step over, I extend, and switch behind the other leg. This is the most important part. I like to go right at the wrist and use my heel to push it behind. Then I pinch my knees together, and I need to roll through fast. You don't want to go too slow because you don't want him to be able to wriggle out. Here, he's going to roll through. I'm going to scoot back, grab the leg and under the armpit, lift and twist. Okay? Now from the crucifix, very similar. So say we attack the crucifix from the same position, going back on your knees again. So I'm here, and I go and I get my crucifix position. From here, I'm just going to roll forward, and now we're in the crucifix. From this position, it's really easy. So from the crucifix, we can attack chokes. We can attack the straight arm lock here, which I haven't showed yet. We'll have to show that eventually. where you just extend the hips for the arm lock. But if they're defending really well, all you're going to do is just switch your leg and catch it like this. So now we're in the same position. So usually the crucifix is here, but now we're going to switch it like this. Now, it's a little bit harder for us to come up into the actual reverse omoplata position, because if I just let go of everything, he's going to be able to sit up and turn into me. And so I don't want that. So what I like to do is when I'm controlling here, I like to sit up and reach around his head and grab the leg so he's not able to actually sit up. So I put pressure on his face. So I'm here controlling the crucifix, and I'm going to keep my hand on his collar. I'm going to sit up and put my hand over his head, grabbing the leg. I'm going to reach and grab his other leg and start to walk my hips forward to finish the reverse omoplata. Alright guys, we're going to cover another thing from when someone's inverted. This time it's when we're stacking the guy here, and I have my double unders, and I'm trying to pass, but he's too flexible, and every time I try and tilt him over, he's able to put his toes on the mat, or for whatever reason I can't get my grip across because he's hand fighting, okay? So what I'm going to do, instead of trying to connect my hands in the center like this to pass, I'm actually going to reach and get sleeve control here, okay? I get sleeve control on one side. With that sleeve control on one side, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tilt to the other side of his body, like I'm trying to pass this way, and I'm going to step my foot inside, like this. Once I have my foot inside of his arm, here, it's like I'm leg lassoing his arm, okay, from the stack position. Now I maintain the pressure on the stack here, but all I'm going to do, I'm going to release the pressure, and I'm going to do a forward roll to my left here, like this, okay? So I end up in this monoplata position, okay? I'm looking for the omoplata here from the double under stack pass, okay? That's what it's going to look like. I'm here, I stack him. He may already be controlling my sleeves to stop me from connecting my hands together. It's very common. So I'm going to grip his sleeve back, put my weight to the opposite side, step my foot inside his leg, or his arm here, my leg inside his arm. Gripping the sleeve, I let go with my left hand, open up. His weight is ready to fall down past me anyways because he's resisting from the stack position. I'm going to do a forward roll and end up in the omoplata, okay? Now we end up in a unique omoplata position here because his butt is on the mat instead of his knees, okay? From here, it makes it really easy to finish the Clark Gracie choke. We just reach up, grab the collar, I need my hands through, you can finish the choke like that. Okay, as well as there's options to finish from here, but we'll get into that later. So again, stack the guy. He's gripping our sleeve, stopping us from doing our double underpass. Grab the sleeve, step inside, roll through. He ends up on his butt. Hook the arm, reach up, pass the collar to finish the choke. Nice. Good work, Ruth. Belts right here. Don't worry about it if you're having trouble understanding it. Just try and remember it for when you're like a purple belt, brown belt, when you get up into the higher ranks. This is a little tricky, but I want to show it for some of the higher level guys who maybe have seen some of those submissions before. So give a little bit of something for everyone, you know? All right, so this is from the De La Riva position here. Whenever we're playing De La Riva, whatever grips you like. Some people like, actually let's turn this way. Normal. Yeah. This way. Yeah. All right, so some people like to grab the sleeve. I prefer to grab the sleeve grip. Other people like to grab the collar here, okay? So we're going to do something that's become, it's an attack that's kind of just surfacing in competition, and it's based off the concept of putting my shin in front of his shin, okay? The shin to shin technique here. So when he bends his knee in like this and I put my shin underneath, I'm pretty much able to lift all of his weight right here just by putting my shin on his shin here. And this is really, it's a powerful move, okay? Even if you don't understand quite what this means yet, having this control here is really, really good, especially if I'm trying to keep him off balance, which is so important in jiu-jitsu. Keep the top guy off balance and not let him plant and, you know, start to break down my guard and break my grips, okay? So in this situation, we're playing open guard. and we're going to say that our opponent drops to this knee, okay, and he's here. And we have our opportunity to use this shin-to-shin technique. Even if he just drops to his knee and I still have like an open guard, I bring my shin in front of his shin here, and I hook my ankle around his ankle, and I tighten my knee to his knee. Okay? So come up a little more, like straighten here, but keep that knee down. Yeah, there it is. So I'm here, and he's putting this knee pressure in, and I'm pulling in here, keep trying to maintain posture, and I'm trying to break him down. Okay? I squeeze my knee in tight. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a big heave-ho and bring him forward so that he has to plant on the ground with this hand. Here. I'm trying to take him up and over. Go ahead and pop back up. So don't fall over, but when I yank you up and over, you plant. Okay? I'm supporting all of his weight on his shin and on my foot here. Okay? It doesn't take that much strength, just because it's good technique. It doesn't take a whole lot of strength. So I have my collar grip, I have my spider hook on this side. Alright? When I bring him forward and plant, the only thing stopping me from shooting my triangle or omoplata is this knee in the middle. Right? This is proper technique to have your knee up in the middle. Because if he puts that knee down and he's passing on two knees, go ahead and put your knee on the mat. He puts the knee on the mat and I'm in this situation. He doesn't really have a lot of base. All I have to do is clear the arm to shoot triangles and omoplatas and all sorts of stuff. So everyone plays with their knee up. Alright? Especially the people who are more experienced. They know they need to keep the knee up. So for those of you lower belts, it's going to look like you shouldn't have your knee up because of this technique, but everyone has their knee up because that's the fundamental proper thing to do in this position. So I'm here, I have my collar grip, and I hook my foot in front of his knee. Alright, if you're having problems, bring your shin in front, just scoot your hips back a little, put your shin in front. Okay? When I pull him forward, and I start to elevate and he plants, this is when I extend his leg back. Okay? By doing that, I moved his knee out of the way, and I can shoot my triangle. Come back down here, yank forward. So I extended out and shot the triangle here. Okay? Now if you're not a triangle guy and you're having problems finishing the triangle, the omoplata is obviously here as well. We can start locking up the omoplata. If you have a good omoplata, that's pretty much a guaranteed sweep. We can come up and sweep with it, or possibly submit with something else. So sleeve grip, foot in the bicep, collar grip. We can get a good strong pull upwards. Okay, I'm not pulling in like this, pulling up and back. So I'm using my spine more, my lumbar instead of my lat here. Pulling up and over. With the shin in front, help elevate him up. He plants, I extend back, and I shoot my leg through. Alright? A lot of moving parts, but we just got to work on it to get the motion down. So when I do it fast, it looks like this. Okay? Now, if he just leaves his leg on the ground here, I can tilt him and just shoot it straight back. I don't have to pull him over. Okay, but if he's putting forward pressure into me, that's when I have to actually bring him forward as well. Like if you're driving in with me. If he's driving in with his knee, that's when I'm going to have to yank him up and over and make him plant with that hand. Extend that leg back and shoot right into the triangle. Okay? Pull forward. Leg back. So I'm shooting that leg out behind me. One more time, slow motion. Pull forward, he plants, I extend out and back. And I just release my foot on his arm here, then I release my foot on his ankle. Okay? Everyone understand? Those of you who don't worry about it too much right now. Just try your best, okay? On three. 1, 2, 3.
Got it.
Okay. All right, guys. So we're gonna do that same ankle lock. This time, let's face this way. Actually, we're gonna be setting it up from the bottom, which is kind of awkward, right? Because normally you don't attack ankle locks from the bottom. It's pretty rare. Unless we're going from single leg X, you may be able to get to the ankle lock position, but it can be difficult because they're putting so much weight down on us, okay? So we're actually going to set it up from De La Hiva. That's what makes this unique. It's an ankle lock from De La Hiva, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach my arm around, like I would be doing a De La Hiva like this, but I'm going to put my wrist on my hip here, okay? By putting it on my hip, I'm using the back of my hamstring to extend his leg out. Okay, so it's breaking this knee pressure. Normally he can put knee pressure here, but I'm going to be stronger in this position just because of the way the technique is set up. I have my wrist set on my hip here. I'm driving with my hamstring underneath his knee, not on top. Okay, so when I'm in this position, I'm going to hook behind his left knee with my other foot, a butterfly hook on the inside. This is going to stop him from stepping back. Right? And so you can feel if I start extending his leg, he's going to start falling down here, okay? So when I come here, now I don't always have to leave my foot on the outside. I can put my foot on the hip here as well and get the same leverage and torque. Okay? Come back up. So the only hard part about this position is getting your foot into the position, or getting your hand into the position here. It can be kind of a tight fit. So what we can do, sometimes we can open the position first, grab it, and then put the leg back. Okay? But if you're not flexible, you don't have long enough arms, it can be kind of tough to get your hand in there. So open the leg up a little, play like an open guard for a second, get the tight hook, and then slide your hamstring back down in front of his knee. You can get the deli heave if you need to. If not, just put your foot on the hip this way or this way. Now, I'm going to extend up and drop him down. And look where we are now. So you can see that we're right into the position where my knee's going to be through. I'm going to start setting up the ankle lock grip. My forearm is not too high on the muscle here, but right on the bone. Keep this tight lock here. See how there's no space in this position? I don't want to be deep where there's space. We can see through this triangle here. I want to be so tight that there's no space there. Okay? The space is here. This space is good. This space is bad. So make sure my hand's tight here. I look back. If I can see his toes, which I can right now, I'm going to readjust just enough so that I can't see them. So I'm putting a lot of downward pressure at the very end of his foot and a lot of downward pressure high up on his shin here, a lot of upward pressure right in the exact center of those 2 points. Okay? Once he falls down, I land right in the position I need to be. I put all my weight on his knee and on his calf, and I'm going to use my foot on his hip here. Now I can use both feet or just one foot. I can have my bottom foot hooked, I can have my top foot hooked, and use pressure from either way, or I can have both. Okay? If I have both, it's important that I keep my hips on the ground on the opposite side, because if I let my hips go over the tops, he can start coming around my back, and I end up in like a crucifix position. I don't want that. So I need to make sure my hips stay on the mat, like my butt is on the mat on the other side. And then from here, I'm going to start to extend and drive. Get a really tight ankle lock from here. Extend, drive, arch, and then give it a little squeeze. Okay? Does that ankle hurt? Is that what you're doing?
A little bit.
A little? What are you doing, Kyle?
Yeah.
Sorry about that, man.
It's all good.
So, he steps into the front leg. I'm here. See how there's no space here? It can be kind of hard to reach my leg around, so I may have to open up, control the ankle, and cut the angle a little bit. Control the ankle, cut the angle. Here. Okay? Once I have it locked here, I'm going to put my foot on the hip, and I'm going to lift my hips off the ground and sweep them over. See how his knee turned outwards? That's what's really going to take his base off. Then once his knee hits the mat, his hips hit the mat, then I start tightening up my position. Eliminate the space at my wrist. The wrist connection here, this figure 4 wrist, is the space is gone. Look over my shoulder, can't see his toes. See I'm posted on my elbow here? And on my elbow here, I need to drop that weight off my elbow and put all my weight downwards on his ankle here. My foot's hooked. Just a personal preference. You can bring both feet out, have the other foot hooked in. It doesn't really matter. As long as we're getting driving pressure with our hips by pushing off of his hip. Arch back. Really tight ankle lock. Okay? Again. So this also works as just a sweep. If you're not an ankle lock guy, if you want, you can just grab the ankle, put the foot in the hip, and then just extend and come up. You don't necessarily have to go for the ankle lock, but it's a really good 1-2 combo if you have a tight ankle lock in this position. Here, there's no space, so I'm just going to cut the angle a little, get my hand on the inside of my hip. I can start to set up the grip immediately. It just is going to feel kind of awkward until he starts to fall. Then it all slides into place. Look over the shoulder, can't see it. Dry, it's finished. Any questions? Let's do it. 1, 2, 3.